In the early 20th century, the game called baseball had multiple kinds of balls. Spitballs, shine balls, mud balls, emery balls, and even juice balls. These were all part of the well-known dead ball era. And that's what we're talking about today on Laughs for My Ass.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Laughs from the Past, Season 6, Baseball's Greatest Legends and Tales. My name is Jimmy, and I have my co-host, Jake, who gave you that beautiful, sultry introduction to today's episode, which was written by Joe Webster and produced by our production team, Jared Gott, Luke O'Brien, and Sam Deutsch. Thank you to those fine folks. Jake, are you excited to talk more baseball? We don't do it enough.
Yeah, it's good to mix things up a little bit here and there. You don't want to get caught in the same stuff. Yeah, man. Baseball life. You're wearing a hat that has a baseball on it. True or false?
I like this. This hat's so dumb and so silly.
Yeah.
I genuinely I giggle when I see it.
Yeah.
It's
a good hat.
It's just a baseball on it. It's pretty lame in a good way. What do you know about the dead ball era?
Not much, man. I mean, the title feels like it speaks for itself a little bit. So that's kind of where my head's at. Yeah, man. I don't know. Dead balls is what I jumped to.
We just came off a season where the balls were significantly different in the MLB, accidentally or conspiracy-wise. What I know is that this was like a known change when they went away from the dead ball era. They were like, enough of that. Let's do something different here.
This isn't fun.
Yeah. So, I don't know. You want to just dive right in?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, why not?
Here we go. Part 1, the dead ball era. Thank you for joining us, guys. The dead ball era was a period in the early 20th century characterized by low scoring and an emphasis on pitching and defense. While its boundaries are not concrete, it is generally recognized to have stretched from the founding of the American League in 1901 to the elimination of the Spitball in 1920. So I know the Black Sox was one of the last dead ball eras, which we may get to them in a future episode. But I think that was one of the last World Series with the dead ball. So there's my frame of reference. The official start date and the exact combination of causes of the low offensive totals during the dead ball era is unclear. Rule changes between 1894, the highest scoring season in the history of the National League, and 1908, the lowest scoring, unquestionably contributed. Changes in how the game was played strategically also were a factor, though it is difficult a century and more later to figure out which were the causes and which were the effects. Among the most significant suggested causes are the foul strike. Without doubt, the single most significant rule change contributing to markedly decreased offense was counting foul balls as strikes. Until 1901 in the NL and 1903 in the AL, only fouled bunts counted as strikes. I like that. A batter could continue to foul off pitches until he saw one he liked. That's crazy. So some, most notoriously Roy Thomas, had become so skillful at it, the rules were changed to count the first 2 fouls as a type of strike. I didn't know that wasn't a rule. We did the first rules of baseball last episode. I didn't realize that a foul ball didn't count as a strike for a long time.
Yeah, and that It absolutely is a skill set. You see batters nowadays do it, but especially back in 1903, I think guys were throwing the ball like 20 miles per hour slower. So yeah, if it wasn't going to count as a strike, just hit it backwards, hit it right at first base, and look for the one pitch you like to hit.
You just check swing and then knock it around.
Do whatever you want up there.
I mean, back then, it's a point of pride now to see a lot of pitches get to 2 strikes, foul them off. If you don't even ever get to 2 strikes, basically it's just cricket. You can play forever. Guys
Roy
like
Thomas.
So good.
That's what we're talking about. Roy Thomas over 100 years later.
Well, let's do a
guy.
quick Google. Yeah, that kind of sucks.
God,
he
must have been annoying.
Let me pull up Roy Thomas's stats, because if he's like good, like he had like a really good career, but we just know him as the guy who was really good at fouling off pitches, that kind of blows.
Well, he's the brother of Bill Thomas, so I'd forgotten that.
From Norristown, PA. How about that?
Oh, Jim, this dude was ahead of his time. He led the league in walks. 7 years?
Wait, and he was fouling them off, so he had a good eye. He knew what to foul off and what not to foul off. How about that? He played for the Philadelphia Phillies from 1899 until 1908.
Career on base percentage, 413.
747 OPS. Slap hitter. If you're just fouling them off, you're probably a slap hitter. 7 career home runs.
He had one job up there, be a pest. 244 career steals. He knew what he was doing. He was living the dream.
He was a fast, pesky guy. Roy Thomas. So they changed the rules because Roy Thomas was too good at just fouling balls off. So his brother was a baseball player as well?
Oh, yeah. You don't remember Bill?
His brother appeared in 6 games. Wasn't as good.
So you confirming you don't?
I don't remember Bill Thomas, no.
Yeah. That was, I don't know. He was pesky for those 1902 Philadelphia. Yeah, they were the Phillies. Okay, cool.
They've been the Phillies for a while. The least imaginative team name going.
Works.
What should we call them boys from Philly? I call them the Phillies.
Identifiable. They were last in attendance that year. Tough.
That is tough. Do you ever seen the stadium they used to play at there?
The old Baker Bowl?
The right field wall was like 200 feet. Was it called Baker Ball?
Should have traded for Babe Ruth. It says they played at the Baker Bowl.
Baker Bowl Stadium. I believe it was just like it was like the Green Monster, but really close and made out of tin. And it would just like explode off. Yeah. Please go to Clem's Baseball and look at the dimensions of the Baker Ball. It shouldn't exist.
Bowl
You ever been to Clem's Baseball? So down the right field line was 281 and just a straight shot.
I like it. Nice stadium.
412 to dead center with a little jut cutout. If you're watching on YouTube, we'll throw a picture here. That is nuts.
Nice.
So anyway, that's where he played. So the foul strike changes baseball. Statistically, this change helped pitchers significantly and penalized batters without hurlers having to materially improve their pitching. Pitchers had to be overjoyed, man.
Oh, it's a huge day.
Instead of throwing 200 pitches in a start, you only maybe had to throw a 150.
Easy. Pitch, get ready for the next game.
Dude, imagine like the first 3 pitches you throw of the bat, the guy fouls all 3 back, and you're just still at an 0-0 count.
Oh, there had to be some brutal moments. There had to be some brutal. I call them significant other moments when you're at somewhere you don't necessarily want to be, and you look up and you're like, oh no, this is still happening. Like that would be the significant other at the baseball game who's like, God damn, how is it 0-0? This guy's been up there for 5 pitches.
Yeah, there had to be a time when a guy fouled the first 10 off. It was probably Roy. What is his name? Roy White? Roy Thomas? Bill Thomas?
Roy Thomas. The brother of Bill Thomas.
Yes. Okay. The Spitball, a devastating pitch when mastered. It first became a serious weapon for pitchers in the early 20th century. Pitchers would often deface the ball with tobacco juice, which would not only produce movement, but also reduced visibility to the batter. Balls
Think
were
about
not
that. They're putting so much tobacco juice on there that the ball's harder to see.
I think tobacco juice, and then it goes in the dirt, then tobacco juice, then goes in the dirt. Nasty. Balls were not replaced after each play as they are now. Each game used only a couple of baseballs, so the balls naturally got dirty and stayed dirty throughout games. Now, I'm a big fan of that. I kind of like romanticize that. Like, if you play a baseball game and you only use one ball, it's kind of romanticized in golf. If you use one ball when you tee off on hole 1 and then you sink that on 18, that's like a successful day.
The day's a win.
That's like cool in baseball. They used to do that, but by the end, the ball would be just disgusting. You couldn't see it. I wonder if they had like third time through the order stats back then in the dead ball era. For anyone that's not a big baseball nerd, the third time through the order for the pitcher is usually very hard because they've seen the batter 3 times now. This is the third time and familiarize themselves and they're getting tired. The dead ball era, you start with a white ball and you go to a little brown ball the second time through. The third time through, you're straight up throwing darkness in the darkness.
That sucks. Spitball.
So, Pitch, did you just not only is your tobacco juice all over that ball, but I also can't see it? Lose.
Yeah, tough.
Other defaced ball pitches. In addition to the spitball, pitchers developed a whole host of pitches. The emery ball, which was scuffing the ball with an emery board and a nail file. A shine ball, rubbing the ball as if shining it to make it smooth in one area. A mud ball, dirting the ball with mud, which also reduced visibility. Now that's straight. I mean, these things, the spitball, at least like the spit was being put on there to make it move, and it also happened to eventually make the ball darker. Straight up just making a mud ball, just like painting it brown. That's truly fucked up. How was that ever allowed?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest one is literally bringing a nail file out and shaving part of the baseball. The pitchers rebelled real hard early 1900, it sounds like.
The pitchers were some like fucking criminals, like getting shiesty on the mound.
How do you think this is okay?
Did you see that? Pitcher he just rubbed mud all over the ball. I can't see it. Can you see it? No, it's cool. It's cool.
It's a nail file.
So, while deliberately defacement was illegal, the rule was rarely enforced and pitchers continued to it. So it was illegal, Jake. What do you think you would test first? Like if we go to a ballpark right now and I give you some dip spit, a nail file, some mud, or whatever they use to shine the ball. I don't even get that one. What would you want to test out first?
I mean, personally, I'm doing the dip spit because it'll be like the 1 of 2 times a year I pack a lip, and I'll probably get a little dizzy and a little sick, and just spitting on a baseball, that seems like a good time. That's kind of my speed.
It's manly.
That's kind of my speed. Yeah, otherwise, I mean, the mud ball. Like, again, the emery board, the nail file. Like, I've never used a nail file in my life. I'm not going there. Mud ball seems my speed. You're accidentally getting some mud on it. You've got a little more mud to put on it. That's kind of a good time.
I'm going mud as well. It just sounds fun. Everyone likes a little mud football.
I'm picturing myself in the 1900s being very adamant that the mud ball is legal. Oh, the ball's got a little mud on it?
Who says? Who says I can't? Who says I can't?
I kind of do that nowadays. I get mad when some pitchers nowadays get the ball and they don't even throw it and they're just like, nah, this isn't a good one. And it's like, what?
Yeah.
That's so against the spirit of baseball for me that like hurts my soul a little bit.
Well, think if you were like in high school or little league and a pitcher did that, like, nah, I can't pitch with this one. You'd be like, what are you, a fucking bitch?
Jim, kids probably do that now. Kids mimic big leaguers. That's gotta suck.
Oh my God. If you have a high school pitcher just throwing away balls because he doesn't like the feel of it, you know it's going into the ump's saddlebag and then he's just going to give you that same ball again.
Yeah, just recycling.
Damn. Always comes back to you hating on kids.
Yeah, usually that's the end. Thank you.
Okay. Inefficient offensive strategies was also a problem. The dead ball error teams relied heavily on the sacrifice bunt, a strategy encouraged by the change in how strikes were tallied that tends to reduce overall scoring. Exceptionally, aggressive base running also became the norm, with players running into far more outs than regarded as acceptable in modern ball, often at a near 1-for-1 ratio.
Yeah, it's not good.
Because of this emphasis on what today is known as small ball, a heavy premium was placed on defensive skills, even at the expense of fielding offensively superior players. So, like, defense was the name of the game. We got to throw these guys out.
Defense came first. It's funny now, like, baseball is very much, hey, if you can hit, we'll find a way to get you on the field. Back then, it was defense, we'll figure out the rest.
Until Babe Ruth came around, they were taught to chop at the ball, to hit it on the ground.
Yeah.
Well, they're playing with a fucking mud ball, like, put it on the ground. They can't see it.
Force the action.
Man. Other now unheard of strategies were hallmarks of the dead ball era. Strategies I don't know about in baseball, all four. Let's hear it. Low power hits, like the Baltimore chop, developed in the 1890s by the Baltimore Orioles, were used to get on base. That's what I was just saying. They were taught to chop down at it. I already knew this strategy. They still use it in softball. Once on base, a runner would often steal or be bunted over to second base and move to third base or score on a hit-and-run play. In no other era have teams stolen as many bases as the dead ball era. It does sound kind of fun to watch, but very frustrating if you're a fan of the team. Like, quit running into outs.
And I think it gets overblown more in football, where you're like, oh, look how different football is. The forward pass, things like that. Baseball, we are quite literally in an era where the uppercut swing is being taught to players because the numbers say if you hit the ball in the air and you could hit the ball out of the stadium, that is the most efficient way to score a run. Back then, they're trying to hammer the ball into the ground to try to get a good hop to try to get on base. Evolution of sports.
The division of pitching workload. The number of innings pitched by top starters declined across the era, as did the number of complete games. Dividing pitcher workload has been a long-term trend in the game, but in the dead ball era, taking the ball out of the staff's aces' hands, who had routinely thrown over 400 innings and logged 40 or more complete games, was a relatively new concept. That blows my mind. So for anyone, again, that's not really that big of a baseball fan, nowadays the starter barely goes that many innings. 10 years ago, he went more, and it's less and less. But we're talking about a time, Jake, when starters just pitched. Whether they were good or having a good day or bad day, like they're saying it was new to take the starter out if he was doing poorly. Like, what? You're playing Little League. You're playing neighborhood baseball, and the pitcher sucks. You get that guy out of here.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm trying to picture the mindset of even being in that crowd or being a teammate and just watching your guy get roughed up and being like, he's got to ride out the storm here, because that's not the baseball we know. Yeah, and there had to be some serious machismo behind it. There had to be some guys that were like, yeah, come try to take the ball out of my hand. I'm on the team to be the pitcher.
I'm thinking that's the opposite, too. I'm thinking a lot of pitchers were like, yo, take me out, coach.
You think so? That's what I don't know. I can't picture that mindset.
The seventh inning. I've thrown 150 pitches. We're losing 8-0. Let Tommy pitch.
I don't know, man. Yeah, it's tough to even wrap your head around 400 innings. Like, how are these guys' arms feeling? Like, who was the first pitcher that was like, hey, Skip, if I rest one more day, I'll pitch real fucking good for you.
It might really help out.
Yeah. And like, how many pitchers also said that and their manager was like, shut up, get out there again.
Yeah. A lot, probably. Manage? Yes. No, you just go pitch. Ballpark size changed. Many ballparks were large by modern standards, such as the West Side grounds of the Chicago Cubs, which was 560 feet to center field, and the Huntington Avenue grounds of the Boston Red Sox, which was 635 feet to center field. What the fuck? If you're that center fielder, man, and a ball goes by you, it's just basically an inside the park home run.
Well, I think that was more so the goal. Instead of trying to hit home runs out of a ballpark, it was try to hit it past an outfielder and hit an inside the park home run.
Intramural softball in college when you play on the football fields. Don't try to go for the short porch and left. Get the gap in right center. It rolls the whole 100 yards, and you got an inside the park. Shoot the gap. Shoot the gap. So we got some stats here. The most dead years of the dead ball era were 1907 and 1908, which had a league-wide batting average of .239, a slugging average of .306, and an ERA under .240. If you're not familiar with baseball, those numbers are putrid, and that was the league average.
Yeah, I mean, what was the slugging? 300?
306 slugging.
306 slugging. Yeah, that's almost like impossibly bad.
Well, they were trying to hit the ball on the ground.
I mean, a 2.40 ER, 2.40 ERA, this is how my brain works, meant that the average game, your team scored 2 or 3 runs. And that's tough, man. And I think it's so funny, and I don't know if we're evolving into this conversation, but like's been mentioned, there's kind of a juice ball era right now, or at least this season. And the MLB commissioner stood there in front of people and literally said, like, well, the game kind of figures itself out. And think about how laughable an excuse that is. if you tried to use that in any other aspect of life, you get laughed at. But I think what we're about to discover is that the game over the years has figured itself out, whether it's different strategies or people spitting on the baseball.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, it's 2.40 ERA would be easily the top ERA right now. And that was the league average then.
Yeah.
And 306 slugging would be easily the worst. That's terrible. On 13 occasions between 1900 and 1920, the league leader in home runs had fewer than 10 home runs. They had to be inside the park home runs, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think what was more of a fun quirk back in the day was some weird field design. So it was like we just mentioned that ballpark in Philadelphia that was 280 to right field. Like if you were a hefty lefty and you had your 2-game series out there that day, you were like, all right, like I'm getting one this weekend.
I would really love to know the numbers of those home runs, how many were over the fence and how many were inside the park. It's stupid that they don't differentiate them. They're different things.
Home run's a home run.
Well, I think it should count as a home run. For bookkeeping.
Right. I'm sure there's somewhere you could find it, but
I don't know. In 1906, the Hitless Wonders, the White Sox, won the World Series with a .230 club batting average. And White Sox manager Fielder Jones said, "This should prove that leather is mightier than wood." How about that? His name is Fielder, and he was defending fielding.
If you're a White Sox fan or a White Sox player that's good at defense, like this needs to be, like I think their second baseman, Yolmer Sanchez, just won the Gold Glove. Like he needs that shirt.
This should prove that leather is mightier than wood. Leather is mightier than wood, no?
I think, I guess it depends what you're doing. I'd rather have a house made out of wood than leather, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, but leather's pretty strong.
I'd probably rather have a belt made out of leather instead of wood, but a good wood belt would be kind of cool.
I don't even understand it.
It'd have to have some bend to it. It'd be tough.
Like bamboo.
Maybe. I haven't worked out the logistics.
So the MLB juiced the balls to try to correct it. Some players and fans complained about the low-scoring games, and baseball sought to remedy the situation. In 1909, Ben Shibby, or Scheib, owner of the Philadelphia Athletics, invented the cork-centered ball. It was a rubber core in the MLB at the time. Ooh, they play with a rubber ball? So now they have a cork-centered ball, which the Reach Company, official ball supplier to the American League, began marketing. Spalding, who supplied the National League, followed with its own cork-center ball. The so-called livelier ball was actually introduced in 1911, the year my Nana was born, and the year that the number of total home runs went from 361 in the previous seasons to 514. though in 2019, there were 6,776 home runs. Yikes. Okay, that's cool. You know that ball that got rubber in the middle? Let's put cork.
Yeah, I mean, especially these times, like, those people are heroes. Like, someone was looking at the field and being like, we gotta turn this up a notch.
Dude, I understand why they're running into outs like crazy now. Only 2 or 3 runs were scored a game. If you got on base, just fucking run and hope they throw the ball around.
Right, if you can somehow get home and
you think they're going to string together 3 hits? No way. Just run.
No.
The accepted end of the dead ball era came around 1920. The biggest contributor to this was the banishment of the spitball and the increased readiness to replace baseballs when dirty. Unfortunately, a man had to die for this change to occur. That is unfortunate. Spitballs were semi-banned in 1920. The majors enacted much stricter penalties against defacing the baseball and restricted the use of the spitball to no more than 2 designated spitball pitchers per team. Awesome. That's so cool. So like when you're like fielding a team, like if you have a third spitballer, you got like, we got to trade you. Who doesn't have a spitballer? It's basically a position. You had your pitchers, your relief pitchers, your spitballer.
I mean, I love baseball so much. Just think about I'm in 1919, 1920. There's a group of dudes sitting in a room, drinking, smoking, and they go, "All right, here's the deal: 2 spitballers per team." They're like, "Yeah, that's perfect. That's the perfect amount."
You know who requested that? The guy who only had 1 spitballer. You know who? And the guy who had 3 was like, "You son of a bitch, you're coming for my guy."
Yeah, you've wanted him since the start, and now you finally got your way.
Despite these precautions against deliberate manipulation of the ball, the majors were still tight-fisted in the use of new baseballs. Umpires allowed balls to continue in use when they had become discolored from ordinary use, replacing them only when they had been obviously damaged. What? Allowing balls dirtied by play essentially allowed every pitcher to continue as a spitball pitcher, despite limiting each to 2 teams. Yeah, I mean, you make rules, you have to follow the rules, otherwise the rules don't matter.
Yeah, and maybe this is something we should have said earlier for our non-baseball fan listeners. If you're sitting there and you're like, okay, so wait, these guys are spitting on a baseball and that made a big difference? Yes. Like these little things, and there's stories about pitchers doing it. We're big David Cone fans. He's MLB pitcher. Now he calls some games for the Yankees. And he tells a story that one time he got a scuffed ball and he was excited. He's like, "Oh, I'll get some extra motion, some extra movement on my pitch." And he ear-holed someone, caught him right in the ear. Was it McGuire?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mark McGuire. And David Cone was like, you have a moment out there where you're like, hey, I almost killed this person. So he never did that again. But yeah, I mean, that's the kind of advantage you can get from this.
Great segue into the guy who did die from getting hit in the head with the baseball, Jake.
Tough.
Really good work. On August 16th, 1920, the Indians were playing the New York Yankees at the Polo Grounds, with the Indians leading 3-0. You know this whole debate about the Indians team name? It's funny it goes back to 1920 when, like, there were still Indians, right? Native Americans.
Yes.
Like, we weren't like... They were still like, the American government was still like actively like being assholes to them.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it probably changed. I'm picturing people in 1920s that just like openly didn't like Native Americans, and they were like, "Why is this our team name?" And nowadays, it's people trying to defend them and being like, "That shouldn't be your team name." I don't know.
That's kind of weird. Anyway, so with the Indians leading 3-0, Cleveland Indian Ray Chapman led off the 5th inning. As was his custom, he leaned in toward the plate. Carl Mays, a submarine pitcher, threw a pitch that started from near his shoe tops and went inside. Chapman didn't move and was hit squarely on the head. The ball ricocheted so hard that the Yankees' third baseman, Aaron Ward, fielded it and threw to first in the mistaken belief that it hit Chapman's bat. Damn. Fuck that.
That feels a little Hollywoodized, I'll be honest. I'm thinking I think he picked up the ball and maybe he threw it to first, but I don't think he thought that it was hit. I think that's been changed over time a little bit.
Generally, such a ricochet would indicate that the blunt force energy of the pitch hadn't been absorbed by the batter, which is a good sign, but Chapman collapsed, bleeding profusely. He recovered enough to walk off the field with the assistance of his teammates. The shaken Indians went on to win the game 4-3, and Chapman would pass away later that night. That's fucked up.
I read a headline, and this is so baseball to the T.
Well, I mean, it's just stupid that they wear helmets. Helmets weren't introduced until the 70s.
That's the next line. Batting helmets didn't become mandatory until 1970, but that day in 1920, they said, hey, no more dark baseballs.
Oh, my... Dude, I don't understand the helmet
50 years.
50 years they became mandatory. They say some teams would make their players wear helmets. They didn't have ear flaps. They were kind of dumb, but whatever. Jesus. In addition to the new policy of clean, visible, lower movement balls, a surge in long ball style play occurred with the rise of Babe Ruth. This was a strategic shift from small ball to long ball. It is debatable whether this occurred due to the banishment of Spitballs or if it was simply a strategic shift. Definitely when they were like, hey, we can see that ball, let's take a longer swing. I think I'm saying that the banishment of the spitball and the dirty balls helped to batters feeling a little more confident in swinging fully.
I'm going to disagree a little bit, man. I think it was seeing the Babe do it and seeing a person hit that many home runs. I think you're right. I think part of the reason Babe was able to do it was because of the spitball, but I think he was the symbol that this game can be played completely differently.
Yeah, but if the balls were still terrible, I don't know if Babe even tries.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Babe used to pitch.
It is notable that his AL leading home run totals exploded from just 11 hit in 95 games in 1918 to 29 in 130 games in 1919, 54 in 142 in 1920. An astounding near five-fold increase in just 2 seasons that coincided with the end of the dead ball era. Mirroring 2019's strategic shift towards the long ball, Babe struck out often. He led the league in strikeouts 5 times. He had 1,330 career strikeouts, a record he held for 29 years until it was broken by none other than Mickey Mantle. Damn.
Yeah. I mean, yes, the spitball not being there changed, but clearly this was a whole different approach, and strikeouts were the worst thing ever, and Babe Ruth was like, I think I'm going to hit these home runs, though.
Yeah. I have a list of firsts in the dead ball era. Might be some good names. Ready?
Okay.
In 1901, the first American League First American League game is played. The White Sox versus the Broncos. Where do you think the Broncos were from?
Jeez. White Sox versus the Broncos. Give me a good second-rate city that didn't pan out. Albany.
Albany Broncos. That'd be something, huh? Cleveland Broncos.
Cleveland Broncos. Gotcha.
The Brooklyn Superbas. Superbas?
Superbas.
It's Super BAS. The 1902 team names. Okay. Do you want to know what the Chicago team name was called?
I need to know.
The Chicago Orphans.
They tried.
That's a hell of a team. Why did they name themselves the Orphans?
Because they were a tough group. I don't know. I don't think that would fly nowadays.
Okay, so here's what it says. After a disappointing record of 59-73 and a 9th place finish in 1873, Anson was released by the Cubs as both a player and a manager. Due to Anson's absence from the club after 22 years, local newspaper reporters started to refer to the Colts as the Orphans. And it stuck? It just stayed?
It's like any good nickname, man.
Okay, do you know what the Boston team name was in 1902?
They were the Whalers.
They were the Boston Bean Eaters.
It's good.
They
Protein.
They were also called the Red Caps, but Boston came to be called the Bean Eaters by sports writers in 1883 while retaining the red as team colors. They don't even say why. We just have to guess.
I mean, honestly, if they were the Boston, I'm trying to think. If they were the Boston Terriers, that's actually BU's actual thing. If we heard that the 1901 Red Sox were called the Red Sox, we'd laugh at that. The Sox teams are pretty ridiculous even nowadays.
Well, it makes sense because they wore red socks. It was just a identifier.
Right. But, I mean, we're talking team names.
Bean Eaters, Orphans, those are weird.
Those are tough. I kind of like Bean Eaters.
Has it always been called, like, Beantown?
No, fun that would be nowadays. You go to the stadium, get some beans in you.
Oh man.
Deluxe beans around the stadium.
In, like, cotton suits in August.
Love that
gross.
dirty water.
Oh, people had to be so disgusting. Oh, wow.
Still
Check this
are.
out. On September 26, 1908, Ed Rulebach was the first pitcher to throw 2 shutouts in one day.
Just rubber arming it.
Why is that even a strategy?
I think they do that in softball still. Like, if your arm can hold up to it, why not?
They do that in softball, yeah. Ooh, Neil Ball is the first American League player to turn an unassisted triple play in 1909.
Unassisted triple play. So you've got to catch the line drive.
Step on second to tag up the runner that left, and then tag the runner that was running towards you from first.
Tag the runner. Catch it.
It happens nowadays.
Yeah.
It's gotta be line drive behind the bag, and the runner's in motion.
Right.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm there. I'm hip.
I'm cool. The first World Series fix in baseball tragedy, the 1919 World Series. Ooh, I think we got an episode coming up all about betting in baseball. So that's
gambling.
Cool. The dead ball era. Do you think you would have? I think that's the era I would have been best at. My skill set would have transferred to the dead ball era pretty well.
Everyone else being neutralized would have helped you.
Yeah.
You are a dead ball era.
Mm-hmm. They call me Dead Ball Jami.
Dead ball Jami.
Step right up and chop at the ball and run real fast, and then run into an out. I mean, expectations were so low for offensive players.
Yeah.
Like, you got 1 hit a game. You were having a hell of a season.
I'm going to ask you this one time.
Yeah.
Dead ball Jami. Are you batting righty or lefty?
Righty.
Think so? I don't think so.
I can't even swing lefty.
I think you're slapping it lefty.
Can't even swing lefty, though.
You're slapping it lefty.
Not good enough for that. All right, that ends this episode. Thank you guys very much. We are excited to be doing this. We will be back next week with another episode of Laughs from the Past. Appreciate you.